But I got a call last night sometime in, the early evening, maybe in the 7s, and he called and he said, we're all set for the Save America Act. He was pushing the Save America Act like crazy. He got back, said he just landed from Ukraine. I said, that's a long trip to make. He said, he sounded a little tired. But
I said on the floor of the Senate, I cast my vote accordingly, that Joe Biden is the legitimate president-elect of the United States. Talk about the law in war. Is there a body of law called the law of armed conflict?
There is such a body, Senator.
Is there a body of law that's called basic criminal law?
Yes, Senator.
Are there differences between those two bodies of law?
Yes, Senator.
I'm pleased to announce, as of about 30 minutes ago, we've reached agreement with the White House on a version of the Russian sanctions bill that they will support. Fight is our fight. 2017 will be the year of offense. All of us will go back to Washington and we will push the case against Russia.
We're going to be going through the Lindsay Graham files and look into why Lindsay lost his life all of a sudden, or speculation on why. Many of other folks get into this, and a lot of it makes sense. We're going to also talk about the timing of Mitch McConnell and the hospital. Some photos released there, and many more links to the Save America Act. Whew, a lot of connections, a lot of strange things going on through the weekend. Fraud is also uncovered for all to see. Want to make sure that 513,000 followers, we thank you for hitting that follow button and the like button on Rumble. We've also reached number 2 almost every single video that we put out, and we appreciate that. You guys are a big support in this and providing so many likes and follows there. Just want to remind you this.
Our new And We Know bracelets connect you with scripture with just the tap of your phone. Simply tap your phone to the bracelet, click the pop-up, and there's a new verse every time. If you're feeling anxious, need to pray, or just want to see what God has for you in the moment, you can tap for a verse and pray over that situation. Now available online.
So that's available online at andweknow.com, and just excited to have this product out there for you. And another great thing's going to be happening hopefully this week. We'll be releasing our new website, and there are going to be some surprises there. So hope you're excited about that. As we are, it's been a long road to get that one put together. President Trump said Senator Lindsey Graham, one of the greatest people and senators I have ever known, is dead. He was always working, was a true American patriot. Lindsey will be greatly missed. Details and arrangements to follow. So sad. President Donald J. Trump. And that so sad remark comes up quite a bit. We'll catch this as we move forward. He was on Meet the Press.
President Trump, thank you for joining us, and my condolences to you.
Well, thank you. He's a tough one to lose. He was great. He was unique in every way, actually.
He was, Mr. President, and I know that we are all just absorbing this news. We are all in shock. Can you tell us, Mr. President, how you received this news and your immediate gut reaction when you heard it?
So what makes it even stranger is that I got a call last night sometime in, the early evening, maybe in the 7s, and he called and he said, we're all set for the Save America Act. He was pushing the Save America Act like crazy. He got back, said he just landed from Ukraine. I said, that's a long trip to make. He said, he sounded a little tired, but perfect, but a little bit tired. I had a right to be. And he was a worker. He was really a worker, but he sounded great, actually. But he actually said he was tired, but he wanted to pass the Save America Act. And I said, well, we're going to get it done, Lindsay. We're going to get it done. I'll see you like soon. We thought maybe we might even meet today. And then that was it. And that was, very around the time. It couldn't have been much longer. It could have been his last call. I don't know exactly, but I got a message about 1:00 in the morning from one of the people at his office that he had passed away. I said, I just can't believe it. He was like a member of the family to me. It's very tough, actually. It's amazing.
Mr. President.
He was such an advocate. He was, if he wanted to get something, and he had a unique ability. He was able to deal with Democrats and Republicans. If I had a problem, a real problem, I wouldn't often ask. But if I had a problem with a Democrat, he could work it out. He was a great politician, actually.
So you can hear in the voice of President Trump, it seems like Lindsey Graham played a big role in many things when it deals with politics, right? Playing both sides, probably after he got his strings cut, being connected to No Name McCain. All of a sudden, he became an asset probably in many ways and reaching to the other side and also getting a lot of information that was needed to make things move forward. So we're going to talk about this a little bit. OG Anon 661, could Graham's death be the precursor to the scare event? 71 hours after he leaves Ukraine, he's dead. And also he was at the age of 71. Are we going to see an assassination push by the White Hats? So, interesting question. On November 20th, 2019, we were told on the cue board, if you guys remember, Chairman Graham, it's time. Senate was the target. Do you guys remember that? So Chairman Graham, it almost appeared that Q was letting us know that he, although he was attached to, in many ways, No Name McCain and some others involved in treason, somehow he was told to actually be activated. And we're going to talk about that. We'll show you a little bit more later. But I wanted to show you this just as a reminder of what since Lindsey Graham, is in the news. Let's go back and talk about this one here.
Talk about the law in war. Is there a body of law called the law of armed conflict?
There is such a body, Senator.
Is there a body of law that's called basic criminal law?
Yes, Senator.
Are there differences between those two bodies of law?
Yes, Senator.
From an American citizen's point of view, do your constitutional rights follow you? If you're in Paris, does the Fourth Amendment protect you as an American from your own government?
From your own government, yes.
Okay. So if you're in Afghanistan, do your constitutional rights protect you against your own government?
If you're an American in Afghanistan, you have constitutional rights as against the U.S. government.
Is there a long-standing...
That's long settled law.
Isn't there also a long-settled law that it goes back to the Eisenstrater case? I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, Johnson versus Eisentrager.
Right. That American citizens who collaborate with the enemy have considered enemy combatants.
They can be. They can be. They're sometimes criminally prosecuted, sometimes treated in the military.
Well, let's talk about can be. I think
under Supreme Court precedent.
Right. There's a Supreme Court decision that said that American citizens who collaborated with Nazi saboteurs were tried by the military. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I think a couple of them were executed.
Yeah.
So if anybody doubts, there's a long-standing history in this country that your constitutional rights follow you wherever you go, but you don't have a constitutional right to turn on your own government and collaborate with the enemy of the nation. You'll be treated differently. What's the name of the case, if you can recall, that reaffirmed the concept that you could hold one of our own as an enemy combatant if they were engaged in terrorist activities in Afghanistan? Are you familiar with that case?
Yeah, Hamdi.
Okay. So the bottom line is, I want every American citizen to know you have constitutional rights, but you do not have a constitutional right to collaborate with the enemy. There's a body of law well developed long before 9/11 that understood the difference between basic criminal law and the law of armed conflict. Do you understand those differences?
I do understand that they're different bodies of law, of course, Senator.
Okay.
Interesting exchange with Kavanaugh at the time, pointing out pretty much the obvious, military law versus criminal law. and gets into all of this. Boy, a lot of probably folks watching that at the time probably shaking their boots, wondering what Lindsey Graham was getting at. And of course, that makes me wonder when you go back to this drop. Chairman Graham, it's time. Senate was the target. And Joe M. had this to say. Trump had a last-minute switch of planes on July 8th out of Turkey due to intel of a possible assassination plot. That same day and day prior, Lindsey Graham was in Turkey. Strangely, Lindsey did not travel back with Trump on Air Force One, but did travel with Trump on the trip going there. Now, there's a lot of speculation that he did not travel with President Trump going there, so many folks are trying to put that piece together. But coincidence, you will not be told the truth about everything. That's how it has to be. This is not a game. Stay close to God. So remember, a lot of these things that they say, that he had a heart problem and more, there could be some things going on behind the scenes. So this was him a day before he was pronounced dead.
That Russian sanctions bill would give authority to President Trump to put tariffs on any country that was buying cheap Russian oil to prop up Putin. It would allow sanctions and tariffs on countries that buy Russian gas, the top 5. It would allow sanctions and tariffs on the 5 top countries that evade sanctions, that get cheap Russian oil to resell it for a profit.
Yep, so he was there, just, heading to Ukraine, talks to Ukraine, and basically put out a statement that, looks like things are going to work out, and we're going to have a peace deal. There'll be some sanctions and yada, yada. So we'll talk about that more, but just an interesting turn of events. GPQ from the trenches, this is a massive domino. Think about Lindsey's job. United States Senator Lindsey Graham served as the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. The Senate Judiciary Committee serves as a watchdog over the Department of Justice, the FBI, and various Homeland Security agencies, ensuring they act within the bounds of the law. Think about that. James Comey has a warrant out for his arrest. What else is Lindsey Graham's job? Think about it. Lindsey Graham is the initial gatekeeper for presidential appointments to the federal judiciary, including Supreme Court justices, specifically Amy Coney Barrett. Lindsey Graham is connected to Hillary, Amy Coney Barrett, and Comey. Dominoes falling. Other strange dominoes that we're going to get into in a moment will be Mitch McConnell, and we're going to tie that together with some more information on Lindsey Graham. We have barely touched the surface on Lindsey. Stick around. Folks, many of us want our furry best friends to thrive. At LTPetClub247.com are all natural, USA-made supplements and treats packed with immune-boosting Coriolis versicolor mushrooms. Shed antler power, transform your pet's health. And guess what? They're so pure, they're great for humans too.
I have been suffering from ulcerative colitis my whole life. I started dosing it very, very hard, like 4 60-milligram tablets 4 times a day. To make a long story short, within about 3 weeks, I stopped bleeding.
From biscuits supporting bones, joints, and organs to mushroom blends for wellness, we've got pets and people covered. Plus, we donate profits to animal rescues like the Beagle Freedom Project. Shop affordable, natural solutions. Head to LTPetClub247.com now for vitality for you and your pet. LT Pet Club 247, health for all, 24/7. Get yours in the description box below today. So there was a photo released of Mitch McConnell in the hospital with his wife, I believe Chow, anyway. According to Grok, many people released this. The photo is AI generated, confirmed by AI detectors. And no real recent photo like this exists from Mitch McConnell's hospitalization since June 14th. The newspaper, and he's holding a newspaper from and any date shown are fabricated by the AI. Similar fakes have mimicked the Washington Post around July 7th, 2026. If you're looking at this photo, folks are noticing a few inconsistencies. White cloud under the index finger. Line on paper different from the line weights. One point begins to overlap physically. Mine makes right corner and is blurred and painted, so there's inconsistencies there. And more. Well, so the paper on the surface is legit, right? That newspaper showing that, oh, look, see, this newspaper proves that I'm still here, right? But now let's talk about the rest, says OG Anon. A man who we've been led to believe has been on death's door for weeks is still hospitalized, but no IVs, no visible medical equipment, nothing on the hospital wall directly behind the bed. Typically, there's a power outlet there or something like that. Sitting fully dressed in jeans, blue jeans, and smiling for the camera. His left hand shows possibly some signs of bruising, but I've seen old people's hands after IVs and it's purple, like purple. His does not. So again, trying to release photos, say, hey folks, look, I'm doing great, smiling, I'm with my wife, blah, blah, blah. And it's just not working. No matter what they try to do, they just can't get it right. Well, interesting because Mitch McConnell announcing he will be absent from the Senate floor while recovering. That's if he's still around. Many folks believe he's not here anymore. We talked about that in one of our videos, right? As the chamber returns to business, with senators heading into weeks off soon, they're going to be off for several weeks. The GOP majority is effectively down to 51 seats, making it incredibly difficult to pass key legislation. Imagine that. Which gets us back to Lindsey Graham. Remember I said President Trump using that so sad? Well, he posted a picture of Lindsey Graham with a black hat, make Iran great again. President Trump said, so sad, President DJT. Remember, Graham shut down Trump's call for Obama testimony on the Russian probe origins. Remember back in the day. So Santa Surfing says, wearing that black hat says, make Iran great again. Holding that card showing President Trump as acting president of Venezuela. Q24241, Lindsay shoots down Trump's call for Obama testimony on Russia probe origins. Lindsey Graham approved the billions of tax dollars sent to Ukraine. Years after Lindsey Graham block, Obamagate is exposed 6 years later. Imagine if Lindsey Graham allowed Obama to testify in 2020. We wouldn't have had the horrid Biden presidency. Swamp destroying America. USAID and NGOs stealing tax dollars, billions sent to countries that kick back to politicians, etc. Because he blocked Obama from testifying because it wouldn't look good, he was a major influence on destroying America. He recently touted that he supports the Save America Act, but he could have done that years ago. He could have saved America then. So remember, we always talked about how it's just strange about him as President Trump supported him in many ways. But in others, we're just wondering what in the world he was up to. One minute it seemed like he was for President Trump. The next minute it seems like he's against her. Remember, he said there was no problems with this election. I'm not going to be on board with everyone saying that this election was stolen. I'm saying that we needed to have a turnover and give this to Biden. Remember that? Anyway, we've always wondered about him. We'll get to more on that, but here's the Save America Act. What's going on there?
Examine what it is that voters want right now. Overwhelmingly, not only do they support this bill, but they understand that it ought to take preeminence. It ought to take precedence over other legislation we should be supporting right now. So I think that's where the disagreement lies, is in the vision that we can pass this, even though we don't yet have 60 votes. We do have a simple majority. And on the technique, the method by which we bring it about. But it does take effort and some creative thinking. We can get it done.
Well, you've got, 8 legislative days or 20 legislative days in the Senate and eight legislative days in the House before the next recess. I know Mike Johnson is talking about a third reconciliation bill. But again, John Thune says, stop talking about a third reconciliation bill to colleagues when he's talking with them privately.
Yeah, look, first of all, we have control over how many legislative days we have left. It need not be that short a period of time. We could choose to work through weekends, through scheduled recesses, and frankly, we should. Especially when something like this comes up. where we see a massive vulnerability in our election security. That affects not only potentially the outcome of elections, but also the way in which they're perceived. When we see something like that, and we have a ready, popular, widely accepted, widely supported solution, we need to re-examine our own practices, even our own schedules, in order to get it done. We can do that, and we must.
Well, this
Senator Mike Lee. So lots playing out with that Save America Act, and now you've got Lindsey Graham out, and Mitch McConnell not showing up. There's a lot of strange things going on in that whole area. So I'm going to show you a few more things. We're going to get back to Lindsey Graham. First, the White House posted this. The 4th of July may be over, but we're locked in all year. This was released by the White House.
Stay on target. We're too close. Stay on target. Who can go the farthest the fast?
Well, you better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
Still locked.
Leave no doubt.
My boy's awake and smiling. You ever tried that?
You got it, dude.
You have no idea how high I can fly.
I wouldn't stress about it.
Genius. Brick by brick. Dollar by dollar.
Don't worry. This is just the beginning.
This is the fight of our lives, and we're going to win. Whatever it takes.
And that was from the White House. Huh. Whatever it takes. The fight's not over. We're locked in all year. Don't forget that. Of course, we're not forgetting over the weekend. Watch this. CENTCOM released strike footage. Carrier launches and Iranian targets hit CENTCOM. Just dropped the footage. F-A-18 Super Hornet and F-35 stealth fighters launching from carriers. Tomahawk missiles firing from Arleigh Burke destroyers. Direct hits on missile launchers, armored vehicles, storage depots, military bases, and telecommunication towers. Marks the week's third round. 140 targets in one night. Over 300 across 3 nights. And of course, the White House released this. So back, America is back. And there you got your fighters up above in the air. America's back. And so there's some questions. And now Nanlee Marie Charismi showed us this video clip. Marco Rubio finishing the job in Iran.
The Iranian foreign minister, what he said at the UN Human Rights Commission, accusing the U.S. and Israel of genocide, essentially.
The Iranian?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, he's an expert in genocide. They're experts in that.
So they said, oh, you're being accused of genocide, doing this to Iran. Listen to Secretary Rubio.
Because, you know, they sponsor terrorism all over the world, and they've killed thousands and thousands of people. Look at the Middle East. Look at the Middle East, guys. Every problem in the Middle East tracks back to Iran. Hezbollah, Iran. Shia militias that are destroying and threatening Iraq, Iran. Hamas, Iran. The Houthis, Iran. Assad when he was in Syria, Iran. Everywhere you turn, they're behind all of it. They are a destabilizing, dangerous, evil force that had to be dealt with. They have to be weakened.
Have to be dealt with. Have to be weakened. Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, Assad in Syria, Iran. You keep pointing that over and over again with these warmongers. And the center of all the criminals and the minds throughout this entire earth. The protection that was put into a place that seemed untouchable now being dismantled. The deep state, headquarters probably, being destroyed. And while all this is playing out, we've got Lindsey Graham, of course, who is tied to McCain. Observing Consciousness had this to say: the sequence is the calm. McCain took over control of Ukraine in 2014, and Graham spent the next decade protecting the architecture through weapons, sanctions, and escalation. Graham skipped the flight on Air Force One when Trump received threats from Iran and then flew to Ukraine to put pressure on Putin. Then Graham returns from Ukraine, speaks with Trump shortly before his sudden death, and leaves the board just as Putin reopens the origin story and Trump begins moving the conflict toward resolution. First McCain, now Graham. The same machine, the same battlefield, the same historical consequence. The Ukraine chapter is closing, and we're going to read more on this. So let's look at this video clip. Just as a reminder, when McCain and Lindsey Graham in December 2016 were in Ukraine talking to the troops there in Ukraine, the Ukrainian troops.
Your fight is our fight.
Ваша боротьба – це наша боротьба.
2017 will be the year of offense.
Рік 2017 рік буде ріком нападу.
All of us will go back to Washington and we will push the case against Russia.
Ми всі повернемося до Вашингтону і ми будемо відстоювати санкції проти Росії.
Enough of a Russian aggression.
Досить вже російської агресії.
It is time for them to pay a heavier price.
Час вже щоб вони заплатили важчу ціну.
I believe you will win. I am convinced you will win, and we will do everything we can to provide you with what you need to win.
Я вірю в те, що ви виграєте, переможете. Я переконаний в тому, що ви переможете, і ми вам допоможемо всіма можливими засобами.
Це те ж саме гільзи з ворожих БМП, які розмальовані художництвом Бердянська.
З Новим роком, дорогі мої!
There they are all together. Now, the 5GW hammer is falling. Putin said, and this was released back in 2025, Putin was telling everybody they staged a coup. They forced us to do what we're doing now. This is from Putin.
It wasn't us who organized the coup in Ukraine. We constantly heard that democracy and the rule of law and elections are paramount, but they staged a coup, a bloody coup at that. And they went full on, tried to conquer the Donbass and killing people with helicopters. They forced us to do what we're now doing.
So, interesting. He's not talking to Russia, he's talking to us, and Trump needed him to say it first because this is back in 2025. Because if Trump had been the one to drop it, it would have been spun into Putin puppet, pro-Russia, traitor, and whatever other program media taglines the swamp rolls out on cue. But now the door's open. Now Trump can walk through it with evidence and burn the whole thing down. Here's the truth. Ukraine didn't have a revolution in 2014. It had a foreign-backed CIA-run color revolution coup funded and orchestrated by the same corrupt Western elite. It's been running regime change ops around the globe for decades, and Mr. No Name, John McCain, was their frontman. Yes, the war hero stood on stage in Kiev with the literal Nazi factions from Svoboda and right sector cheering them as they destabilized a sitting democratically elected president. He wasn't there by accident. He was there to give it cover, to give it legitimacy. Behind the curtain, Victoria Nuland, if you remember, Assistant Secretary of State under Obama, she was caught red-handed in a leaked call saying Yats is the guy, talking about Arseny Yatsenyuk, who magically became prime minister after the coup. That phone call was dated before Yanukovych was removed. Translation, the new regime was pre-selected by Washington. And she wasn't shy about it either. Nuland later bragged that the U.S. had spent $5 billion funding Ukrainian civil society, another way of saying paying for protests, media bribes, and infiltration. It was a full-spectrum subversion op, color revolution. Meanwhile, groups like the Azov Battalion were given arms, training, and political legitimacy, even though their symbols trace back, straight back to the Third Reich. This wasn't hidden, it was public, but the media didn't care. Why? Because they were useful. They were the muscle for the coup. Then came Biden, then came Burisma, then came Hunter. The regime was installed and the looting began. So fast forward, Trump comes in office, starts poking around. He calls Zelensky, the perfect phone call, asks questions, and boom, they impeach him. Why? Because he got too close to the crime scene, because everything ties back to that 2014 coup, and the people behind it are the same ones pulling the strings across every institution today. And here's why 5G warfare enters. Here's where it enters. Trump can't be the first one to say it. He needs someone else to say it so he can confirm it, not introduce it. And who better than Putin? They run kayfabe, public tension, media headlines spin the fake beef. Trump condemns Putin. Trump criticizes Russia. The swamp cheers. But under the noise, the real move lands. Putin drops the truth. Ukraine was a coup. The West did it. Trump now has the green light to say what he's known all along, but now it's not Trump's theory. It's a whole revelation around the earth, and once it lands, Trump will back it up with receipts. Leaked memos, Nuland's audio, McCain's photo ops, Burisma's dirty deals, Hunter's laptop trail that leads right back to the 2014 install job. It's the narrative warfare at the highest level. Putin drops the payload. Trump walks the American people through it. Then he asks the question, if they lied about Ukraine, what else did they lie about? From there, it spreads like wildfire. The media is cornered. The intelligence agencies are exposed. The military-industrial complex gets dragged into the light. And every last neocon and CIA asset who helped stage that coup gets their name stamped in history as the traitors they are. This is how you bring down a regime from within, not with bombs, but with truth. Let the enemy say it first, then deliver the evidence. Then show the people, the enemy, by the way, quote unquote, they call it the enemy. Then deliver the evidence. Then show the people what the swamp has done. All of it orchestrated, all of it timed, all of it part of the plan. Trump doesn't need to win the narrative. He needs to let the enemy hand it to him. And they just did. Now, once again, I'm going to play this clip from Lindsey Graham before he passed.
I'm pleased to announce, as of about 30 minutes ago, we've reached agreement with the White House on a version of the Russian sanctions bill that they will support. It means it's going to become law. So when I get back to Washington, I'm going to go with Senator Blumenthal to the Republican and Democratic leader to see if we can find time to move this Russian sanctions package that would give tools to President Trump to help end this war.
Very interesting. Now, Joe Lang had a part 1 and part 2 put together for all of us. I'm going to read this one. Part 1. Is Lindsey Graham's sudden death a bigger mystery than it seems? Cardiac arrest, question mark. Joe M's post, remember we talked about it earlier, showed it earlier, raised some questions and possibilities. There are several possibilities, but Trump is engaged in a clandestine war. The full truth is hidden. Why? Art of war. Deception and misinformation is required in war. Here's some coincidences that make me question the official story, what we know. Trump flew to Turkey for a NATO meeting on his new Air Force One that had been retrofitted after being donated by Qatar. Lindsey Graham traveled with Trump to Turkey on the new Air Force One. Now, that's under speculation. Just letting you know, some folks are saying we don't know if that's true or not, okay? After the NATO, and on part 2 of this, Joe Lang admits that too. After the NATO meetings, the Secret Service convinced Trump there was credible threat that the new Air Force One may be vulnerable. Trump then flew to the old Air Force One to U.S. military base in the UK and then took the new Air Force One back to America. Seems like a real threat, but only in the area of Turkey and Europe. 2 things to consider. Israel notified Trump of a new threat from Iran while in Turkey. Was it a real threat or a false accusation by Israel to keep the war against Iran and Hezbollah going? Or was it just a cover story for something else entirely? Was Israel helping Trump by creating a cover story in order to distract the real threat and give them a false sense of security? Trump publicly claimed when questioned about the threat that he has given orders to destroy Iran completely if he's assassinated. That story carried the narrative, but what didn't get much attention was what Trump said specifically about the threat itself. No, Israel came up with nothing. No, he tells the New York Post in a phone interview. I've been number 1 on Iran's kill list for a long time, and it's the way life is. The only thing is, remember President Trump said this, I've left instructions, if anything happens, to just literally bomb them at levels they've never seen before. Trump says, I hope you'll miss me. Now, people focus on the retaliation part of Trump's response, but ignore the part that said that Israel didn't offer evidence of a new threat. Remember, Israel is infested with corrupt deep state puppets like every other country, and the military-industrial complex in Israel is definitely upset that Trump is about to sell F-35s to Turkey because they were the only NATO country to assist us in our military operations against Iran. You would think that Israel would welcome Turkey's help, but instead, they are now using the same forever war rhetoric against Turkey that they used against Iran. Is Trump exposing the deep state in Israel? Certainly a possibility. Who do you think is the greater threat to Trump? A destroyed and degraded Iran or the military-industrial complex in Israel? Certainly the deep state in Israel is now a greater threat to Trump than Iran, but there's another threat to Trump that is also greater than Iran, in my opinion. And Turkey's proximity to the Ukraine war isn't a coincidence. Lindsey Graham did not travel back to America with Trump. Instead, he went to Ukraine to meet Zelensky and tour Ukraine's secret drone manufacturing plant, even posing for pictures holding one of the new drones. Lindsey Graham died hours after returning from that visit to Ukraine. And folks, there's speculation that he never made it back, just letting you know. Coincidence. Is that the full story? What isn't being revealed? What's surprising to me is that the phones were allowed into the secret factory and pictures were allowed to be taken. Phones are vulnerable to many types of surveillance. Speaking of phones, anybody remember when Q said this about Lindsey Graham's best friend, no name McCain? Q drop, 1092. We love phones. No name should know better. No name is McCain. The phones Q is talking about were present at these meetings between McCain and ISIS. See the pictures on your screen? He was hanging out with ISIS. They allowed geolocation, audio capture, and pictures of McCain posing with ISIS members he was helping to fund and arm in Syria. Did Lindsey Graham make the same mistake? There you are, the pictures that you're talking about with these drones. Phones allowed in, pictures taken. We're going to get part 2 of this from Joe Lang. Very, very good, very interesting in a moment. New Spring Wellness Center. Your all-natural one-stop shop for optimal brain health and overall wellness. They're out of Osage Beach, Lake of the Ozarks. Folks, I've been there twice now. You can reach out to Chad and Katie Burrow for support. Are you a loved one or a loved one struggling with addiction? At New Spring Wellness Center, they offer a proven outpatient program that addresses addiction recovery like no other. Their brain restoration program is designed to restore your health, eliminate cravings, and help you achieve lasting recovery. Folks, I have witnessed it for myself. The changes in people who had addictions. They have faith-based support, IV therapy. They have prayer and so much more. John N. said he had alcohol and brain fog. He said, I came to New Spring Wellness for alcohol and brain fog, something I've struggled with for over 30 years. I tried AA before, but this treatment was unique, different than anything else, and it offered a better outcome for me. My head feels so much clearer. My faith has deepened. I've made new friendships, and I have no desire for alcohol, completely different than just 2 weeks ago. Around day 5, I started to feel a real change. There's truly no comparison. I feel renewed. The people here are friendly, professional, and knowledgeable. The patient care is excellent. I'd absolutely recommend this to anyone. Amber was addicted to Xanax for 15 years before coming to New Spring Wellness. Tried the inpatient and outpatient programs, counseling, AA. I came to New Spring to ease withdrawal symptoms in a stress-free environment and to begin repairing my neural pathways. A family member who works in recovery told me about it. Almost instantly, my withdrawal symptoms eased, and I finally had time to focus on myself, surrounded by caring individuals. The emotional support and brain restoration formula made a real difference. By days 2 to 4, I had more energy and better focus. Folks, I've talked to people there, prayed with folks that have come through this program. It will change your life. Go in the description box below and click on that link to change your life or others forever. So part 2 of this from Joe Lang. Great work on this one. He did provide that correction. No confirmation that Lindsey Graham traveled to Turkey on Trump Air Force One, but Lindsey Graham was at the NATO summit in Turkey. What's interesting is who he met with personally. From Lindsey Graham, quote, I wanted to offer my readout regarding 2 meetings in particular from today's deliberations at the NATO summit in Turkey. The first was with my Senate colleagues on Kodel Shaheen and President Zelensky from Ukraine, and the second was with President al-Shara from Syria. Here are my takeaways. Now, why were these meetings a big deal? Lindsey Graham has been one of the biggest pro-Israel defenders in the Senate for a long time and also a warmonger, quote unquote. Suddenly, he flipped publicly on 2 important issues that Israel seems to be concerned about: selling F-35s to Turkey, partnering and working with President al-Shara in Syria. Would that make Lindsey a target? He carries a lot of influence in the Senate. Those new positions would definitely make him a threat to the deep state military-industrial complex in Israel, but not necessarily all of Israeli leadership. Trump is working with many allies in many governments across the earth to remove the cabal's control over everything. Trump does have allies in Israel, in spite of what the anti-Israel influencers tell people. All of these developments surrounding Lindsey's death tell me that there's more to the story. I'm not blaming Israel. It's just a possibility. We can only speculate because we might never know the full story. Is it possible that Lindsey Graham suffered cardiac arrest shortly after returning from Ukraine? Of course. But it's hard for me to ignore the number of coincidences surrounding his ultimately and untimely death. As I mentioned in my previous post, Lindsey Graham had visited the secret drone factory in Ukraine and taken phones inside the facility to take pictures. Was that a mistake or intentional? Here's a post from pro-Russian commenter on X who covers a lot of the war in Ukraine from a perspective we don't see in American media. Quote, yesterday, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham visited Ukraine to assure Zelensky's support of the United States. The warmonger was shown a secret drone manufacturing facility in Kyiv. Well, this facility no longer exists after strikes by the Russian MOD. Without warning, 6 missiles struck 2 manufacturing facilities in Kyiv region. The Rum OD, the Russia, I guess that's military, anyway, confirmed strikes on drone sites which started a huge fire. If this is true, and the drone factory was destroyed after Lindsay visited the site, then taking phones into the factory was either a mistake or intentional to target the facility for destruction. See, they can use that phone, hone in exactly where the location is, and then boom, it's gone. Would that speed up the peace process? What better way to force Zelensky to the peace table than to destroy his drone manufacturing capability just as his new drones are going to be beginning to have effect and encourage European support? Phones are the key. Q told us several times that military intelligence captures all electronic data. Q dropped 999. Why is Epstein spending $29 million to bury the tunnels underneath his temple on Epstein Island? Problem. Phones were allowed in. These people are stupid. Capturing all electronic data is a huge military advantage. So here's the question. Did Lindsey Graham purposely reveal the location of the secret drone facility in order to target it for destruction and speed up the end of the war in Ukraine? Trump wants a quick end to the war. Did Lindsay help Trump by betraying Zelensky's trust? Has the drone factory been destroyed? Ukraine would never admit it, and neither would the media. We can only speculate. But if it has, wouldn't that make Lindsay a target of Zelensky's? If that advanced drone factory is destroyed, Ukraine is defenseless. Has Ukraine targeted people outside of Ukraine for assassination? What happened in Monaco recently? The timing. Huh. So anyway, I thought I'd read that through so you guys would be able to make what you will. Many of you will probably go back and re-listen to try to figure out how this all pieces together, but there's many moving parts here. And when this all plays out and the corruption's exposed, more and more people will have their questions answered, but I don't know if we're going to get them all. While this is all playing out, we're talking about aircraft and more, just a quick sidebar. Secretary Sean Duffy said this, folks, 17 airports across America, 17, have switched from old paper strips to electronic flight strips. Air traffic controllers have been using paper for far too long. No more. We're going digital, and this is just the beginning. 17. Interesting number. Speaking of 17 in the operation, more and more is being exposed on fraud and corruption in the United States. Check this out from President Trump. He released this video.
Michigan are caught up in a $5 billion
Michigan, Democrats. $5 billion laundering
fraud scheme that was siphoning taxpayer dollars. The scheme was uncovered by House Republicans. The accusations, which have sparked outrage, center on the discovery of more than 4,000 fake phantom jobs, allegedly used to siphon taxpayer dollars into non-existent programs, questionable gender surgeries for prisoners, and dubious arts and culture grants. House GOP investigators claim to have identified the thousands of fake job positions created to justify budget allocations that never materialized into actual employment. Critics argue this was a deliberate tactic to funnel public money back to Democrats, bypassing accountability and oversight. This as multiple claims come in over fiscal mismanagement under Democrat control, led by Governor Gretchen Whitmer, with the Michigan state budget ballooning to more than $82 billion. That's
How about that? So, moving forward on more and more fraud that's being caught throughout this earth. Kash Patel, FBI fires 2 Atlanta analysts for refusing the 2020 election probe. Director Kash Patel fired the 2 Atlanta area analysts in Fulton County, Georgia, in that 2020 election event investigation. This comes after 200 agents surged for the probe. Every employee at this FBI is to uphold our mission. Any deviation will not be tolerated. And they're gone. Other things, buckle your seatbelt, folks, because this came out. Warrior for Christ, thank you for putting this out there. Here comes some shifts. Mamdani has been caught with his hands in the Iranian situation.
In a major America First win, President Trump's State Department just shut down a secret meeting between Iranian representatives and top officials from New York City, Mayor Zohran Mamdani's administration at the United Nations. Mamdani's International Affairs Commissioner was set to sit down with Iran's UN envoy right after Tehran fired missiles at commercial ships in defiance of the peace deal. The mayor's office is now in total chaos. Mamdani claims he didn't know until reporters asked, and they're desperately spinning that they're working on a new process. But it gets much worse. The Director of National Intelligence has uncovered multiple communications between the IRGC, the Iranian government, and Mamdani's administration, including direct conversations from Mamdani himself. An inside whistleblower confirms they were coordinating to leak sensitive information about America to our enemies. This is outright treason. Sources say Mamdani's citizenship will be revoked, and he'll spend the rest of his life in federal prison where he belongs. President Trump continues to expose these traitors and put America first. Share this before they try to bury it. I'm Jonathan.
Mamdani. Busted. Told you can't have meetings with that guy from Iran. And committing treason is one big one he probably has now committed. And boy, you guys know what the punishment for treason is. Anyway, U.S. Department of Education said American history is worth learning. And they pushed this out for all to see. I love these posts. And, part of American history is learning of all these infiltrators and what they've been doing to steal our money. That's right, your hardworking money, all the tax dollars you pay and more, funding all of these crazies around the United States. Look at Nick Shirley once again. Boy, he's always catching them.
And how come you guys are the daycare that receives the most amount
in New York
of money here in Flushing, Queens?
We have a lot of members.
How many members do you guys have?
I don't have to tell you.
Because here it says you guys have 7,899.
7,800 members. Paid $12.9 million in 2024. Adult day paid $10.8 million. Good night.
Oh, it's actually from the public databases of CMS and HHS.
Do I have to tell you the number?
But this place doesn't look like it can hold 7,000 people.
Can I have an ID or something? You're asking me some about...
Well, this is public information because it's public tax dollars that you guys are receiving.
I don't have to tell you, right?
Yeah, but do you guys have 7,000 members, for instance?
No, we don't have 7,000 members.
Okay, well... That's what it says. You have 7,899 in 2024, and then so that's not true.
7,000?
Yeah. So you guys are you guys overbilling then? Because you guys are getting paid per patient $1,600, and that's how you guys got $12.9 million in 2024.
I don't know how they calculate. But I don't remember. I don't remember all the numbers.
But did you have 7,000? I think you'd remember if you had.
No, I don't. We don't have 7,000 members.
So, how come you guys billed for 7,000 people then?
Do I have to tell you?
Well, you like $12.9 million on 7,000 patients, and you say there's not 7,000 patients. Are you committing fraud? Like, are these numbers wrong?
Please, sir.
$12.9 million. That's a lot of money.
Leave.
12.9 million. All right, we will leave. You could have just answered the questions. Now,
I don't want to.
Now people are going to be wondering if you committed fraud.
I don't want to, but why you keep asking me? I said I don't want to tell you the information.
Well,
and why?
These are taxpayer dollars, so.
So what? So I don't have to tell you the.
We're sick of people defrauding our taxes. This guy received $12.9 million, and right here it says they had 7,899 patients.
So the fraud is $44 million combined. What they're showing us on the fraud counter that Nick Shirley continues to find. Whew. My goodness, this guy even admitted, we don't have 7,000 people. Oh, how many are we reporting? 7. Oh, no, I'm in trouble. Hey, get out of here. Oh, busted, and we're reminded by the Department of War CTO, because this is a war, folks. Never lose focus, Patriots. Stay locked in. Hold the line. Ultra Magadine was all over this, showing that warrior. It's a picture of all of us. Q 1013, because it was released at 1013, communicating with us. Our thoughts and prayers are with the 4 U.S. Marines and the 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing who lost their lives in yesterday's Southern California helicopter crash. We pray for their families and our great United States Marine Corps. Their sacrifice will never be forgotten. Twitter, clowns, Operation QT2810 Charlie, false drops, bot push, future conspiracy push to norms, bad mixed with good, taint, they are scared. This comm is clear. They are scared, the enemy. Never lose focus, Patriot. Stay locked in and hold the line. President Trump put this out. Bigger investments just keep coming. The Trump effect is real. Micron is accelerating its U.S. spending to a massive $250 billion to build memory chips right here in the USA. For years, the do-nothing Democrats bogged down American industry with crushing red tape, complete economic mismanagement, and ridiculous woke mandates. They stalled everything. Not anymore. We are slashing the radical left's job-killing regulations and actually getting shovels in the ground. We are reshooting manufacturing to America and securing our supply chains. This means thousands of great jobs for hardworking patriots all across our country. True economic security is made in America. MAGA. President Donald J. Trump also saw this. Apple to invest $30 billion in U.S. chip manufacturing. Thank you, President Trump, for that. Also, if you guys didn't know, we released another video Saturday with Dr. Kirk Elliott, Precious Metals Skyrocket in August, ? Folks, he got into and sharing what is going on with silver and how the expectations, if you're looking at your screen, for silver are going to, if you see that green line, by most people are seeing it skyrocket starting in August. And so you don't want to miss it. You want to go to amweknow.com/gold. In the description box below, reach out to them and have these conversations. And I tell you, you're going to be overwhelmed when you see the things playing out and you get your IRA over to them. Oh, you don't want to miss it. So going back to some disturbing information, Tim Walz pardons convicted illegal alien child predator.
Mr. Vang's case, I would state this, that I can find no reason how Minnesota will be safer or better if Mr. Vang is deported to a country he has not been to since he was a child.
Fox 9 reports Vang's victim wrote a letter to the board forgiving him, and they say that was a key factor in their move to pardon Vang. Charlie Rachel with.
Thank you, Maddie.
What a bullet we dodged.
So he pardons an illegal alien who assaulted a 10-year-old girl. Tim Walz. Just want to make sure you're aware of that. And also keeping you up to date on what's happening across our country. AMEC's been doing a great job just showing you on the screen. If you're not looking at your screen, they've got that flag being raised on 87th Street in Bridgeview, Illinois. And then they unveil this as they have the U.S. flag. And they call it what? The Palestinian flag. And they bring it down. And basically they're celebrating Little Palestine Way. Yeah. Concord. Another U.S. city has fallen to Islam. They are renaming our streets in our country. In Bridgeville, Illinois, a city I've long warned is being completely taken over by jihadis. The community gathered at 87th Street and Harlem Avenue for the official unveiling of Little Palestine Way along Harlem Avenue and Wadea Al-Fayoum Way. This wasn't some organic grassroots moment. It was the culmination of years of organized Islamic and Marxist efforts. Legislation pushed through the Illinois House and Senate, designing a major stretch of road in one of America's largest Palestinian enclaves as an official Little Palestine Way. For years, Amy Mex documented how communists and their ideological allies rewrite history by changing street names, tearing down monuments, and erasing the identity of the nations they target. They did it in every country they infiltrated. Now the same tactic is being used here, but with an Islamic twist. This is not random. This is coordinated. The Muslim Brotherhood's The Project, the 1982 strategic document exposed years ago, laid out the plan clearly. Gradual Islamization of the West through infiltration of institutions, creation of enclaves, dawah, and parallel societies. The Palestinian cause was always central to that strategy, a unifying banner to radicalize Muslims, recruit Western leftists, and pressure governments. Today, we are watching the convergence in real time. Marxist groups and Islamic networks are running parallel operations with the same goal: to undermine the Constitution, erode our culture, and capture our children and institutions. They target schools, local governments, churches, and law enforcement. They change the names on our streets. They turn neighborhoods into ideological strongholds. Bridgeview is just one more data point in a national pattern, and right in the middle of it sits American Muslims for Palestine, AMP. Now, speaking of government some more, I wanted to show you this quick clip. Somebody unveiling for us the difference in the Bibles for those that want to learn this type of information. It's a quick clip just to show you what we're having to deal with.
It's about to blow your mind. Look at Ephesians 6, verse 12. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Right, so that's the King James. Now look what it says in the Geneva Bible. This one is from 1560. This is before the King James. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, and against the worldly governors, the princes of darkness of this world. And notice how it didn't use against again, which means the worldly governors are the princes of darkness of this world, and against spiritual wickedness, which are in the high places. So not only are we in a spiritual battle, we're also being attacked by the worldly governors, the princes of darkness of this world. If you research why he had it translated this way, was because certain things threatened his authority and his power. He also removed all 15 books of the Apocrypha, which are all in the Geneva Bible. King James literally banned the Geneva Bible, and it was for a reason. The Geneva Bible came before the King James.
So I've got a copy of the Geneva Bible and went through this and just wanted to share this with those that are interested. So many will say that they've never seen this before. It's important that you look into these things. And I tell you what, it makes sense that, hey, if there's a verse out there that threatens the governors who are basically the leaders at that time, and leaders even of today, many of them that belong to the wicked one. And it's pointing out, hey, be careful. Watch out for these principality powers. The worldly governments, the governors, the princes of darkness. Wow, those people that have authority, we better watch out. We need to take that out because we don't want them going against the king. So I want to make sure you guys are aware of that. And man, I'm always doing research, always studying and trying to make sure that these things are made known to all of you. I hope you guys appreciate that and look into it yourself. Now, we've covered an awful lot today. We've gotten into Lindsey Graham, a big player. We've talked about different things that have played out in many different ways, with him, and the confusing part that we've always, one day he supports Trump, the next day it seems like he's against him. But most of all, we just want to remember that he did a few major things that was part of the awakening and letting us know if you're working with other countries and you're an American citizen, guess what? You can be in big trouble. And he had to do that. His puppet strings were taken off, I believe. And I think he was kind of used as an infiltrator. He played the role of both sides, in my opinion. I don't know what your opinion is. Let us know below the video and, tell us what you think. He's been a confusing character for all of us. And you could hear President Trump in his interview with CNN, or he actually was on CNN with Jake Tapper and some others, and it seems like he chokes up when he talks about it, and it seems like, Lindsey Graham, who actually played golf with, he endorsed him and all that. There had to be something going on that they're never going to share with us, folks. They don't tell us everything that's going on, especially when it comes to taking down the enemy, okay? We're not going to expect to get it all. But we all will, if President Trump puts out information and he's choking up talking about it, it makes you wonder what a strong asset Lindsey Graham was and what played out. And how, in such a way, his life is now gone. And I definitely think Joe Lang was more onto it than many others, in that it was that interesting that he just happened to have his phone at a facility that was being used to cause chaos and war, and it was destroyed right after he left. Huh. Really makes you wonder. The White House put this out. Choose wisely. You can be a communist or a patriot, but you cannot be both. President Donald J. Trump. And also the U.S. Department of Education told us it's not over yet, with a picture of the flag of the United States of America. And we're told, patriotic summer. Hold the line, folks.
For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you now. We thank you once again for your continued guidance and direction in our life and more. We ask that you continue to help us in dissemination of information. For those that are on the front lines, those that are fighting for our nation against this entrenched enemy, we lift them up to you also. We hope, and certainly hope, that they are paying attention to all that's playing out as they're being called communists. But we have an infiltration of a very, very evil group into our nation. It's been destroying other nations throughout this entire earth. We know you hear our prayers, and we ask that you would help in this effort to stop it before it gets worse. We thank you for your continued support of us each day in Daily Bread, and also for protection against the enemy of our own lives, our own family, and the things that we say and do all around us. You're such a good God to us, and we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, in whose name we pray. Amen. Folks, I hope you have a great remainder of your week. It's just starting out Monday, right? I'm sure we're going to have a lot more info moving forward as we get to that 72-hour point of things that have happened, like with Lindsay Graham and more. Certainly is somewhat confusing, but at the same time, it makes sense in many ways. But again, very difficult to go through. Many folks are trying to figure out how this all plays out, and it's a great time to be part of this intel group and to pay attention to Q and all the drops that are given to us by many others, in hopes that we'll figure this out in more detail throughout the remainder of this week, month, and year, okay? For now, this is LT Semper Fi, with them we know, signing out.
I got a call last night sometime in, the early evening, maybe in the 7s, and he called and he said, we're all set for the Save America Act. He was pushing the Save America Act like crazy. He got back, said he just landed from Ukraine. I said, that's a long trip to make. He said, he sounded a little tired. But
I said on the floor of the Senate, I cast my vote accordingly, that Joe Biden is the legitimate president-elect of the United States. Talk about the law in war. Is there a body of law called the law of armed conflict?
There is such a body, Senator.
Is there a body of law that's called basic criminal law?
Yes, Senator.
Are there differences between those two bodies of law?
Yes, Senator.
I'm pleased to announce, as of about 30 minutes ago, we've reached agreement with the White House on a version of the Russian sanctions bill that they will support. Fight is our fight. 2017 will be the year of offense. All of us will go back to Washington and we will push the case against Russia.